Action.
Hello, my name is Ray Batchelor. I'm from Buckinghamshire New University, which is just outside London. And in a recent survey, which I'm not now going to refer to because I've remembered that this is playing, we didn't do too well, and I attribute that to us having centres of excellence and some other places that we're going to be working on. We do have art design courses. We have a whole range of them. This is a knitted textile student's work that made its way to an Italian design show. We have spatial design, that's better known as interior design in some areas. We have graphic design, creative design, fashion design, fine art, furniture and conservation, restoration and decorative arts, graphic design. There's a whole list of them. The point about it is that if a student is doing a course like this, they come up against this entity known as visual and material culture. The students who arrive in the first year who've not done the reading and not noticed, look at this and think, what is that? That's what I teach. What is that? Why am I being asked to do that? And I'm mindful that Janina does some similar work of this kind here. And the phrase that haunts them is that it leads to writing a dissertation. Now, these are art and design students. The main output from their course is their body of art and design work. It's their portfolio of work. But alongside it, we offer them an opportunity to think about their disciplines, but without producing work, in order to get some sense of the world that they're going into and get into the habit of knowing a little more about their chosen disciplines. So Bethany Vukamanovic, a graphic design student who won some prizes, would be doing visual and material culture. If you put the expression writing a dissertation into Google, this is the sort of image that comes up, and there's a lot of them. It shows students in some kind of physical pain, and they are surrounded by books. This is obviously, I mention it only because it's the idea that a great many students come to us with. We do our very best to get them to understand that it's not exclusively about books, but also that it's a beneficial experience for them, and indeed, in many cases, it proves to be the case. Now, in a typical course, they will be doing 75% studio work, which makes them happy, and 25% VMC, which may cause them some grief. It doesn't always cause them grief. Sometimes students take to it immediately, and they go through and they write dissertations. We call them dissertations. These are, in truth, extended essays. They're 6,000 to 8,000 words long, illustrated, fully annotated, and so on. These shiny, happy people, I got this illustration from a website for a UK company that will sell you your dissertation. They will write it for you for £9.50 a page. I mention it only as an indication of the extent to which that grief and pain that some students feel about this kind of work can drive them. So, this is the problem my colleagues and I were addressing. We're preparing art and design students in the second decade of the 21st century, for the rest of this century, using a format rooted in the second half of the 20th century or earlier. And the question we asked ourselves is, to what extent is that a problem? And how should we reckon, to the extent that it is a problem, how should we recognize it and how should we respond to it? We had student opinion to refer to. We've been assiduous in seeking feedback from students about what they feel about their course, and they will tell you what they feel. We note the limitations and value of that kind of feedback. And we've asked for it every year for several years, both questions that deliver quantitative and qualitative feedback. So the students themselves, this is a typical year. This is 2014, but I could go back over several years and you get a very similar shaped pie chart. So in terms of whether how much do you think producing your VMC dissertation has helped your development as a professional practitioner? Remember, these students are on the brink of leaving They're not going to be in university much longer, and they've got to fend for themselves. So this is a very pertinent question. And of course, we take some comfort from the fact that 39%, nearly 40% say it's helped, and 22%, nearly a quarter, say it's helped a great deal. And in the comments that come back, learnt a lot about the industry through my research. I am fully able to contextualize my work now, exclamation mark. Thinking at a different level, I could pay for these comments. They're most encouraging. Confidence in writing as well as understanding of the professional work. And yet, consistently, we have a significant minority who says, well, it only helped me slightly, or it didn't actually help me at all. Now, we'd be mad not to attend to that, because that is a significant minority. We could perhaps, in the discussion that follows, think of some of the different reasons why that might be the case. But we use that as a piece of evidence to think about in terms of how we might respond to that problem that I described to you earlier. We also ask students, just as they've handed their dissertation in, sometimes we ask them for advice for the second years, but we ask them other types of things too.
Do you think your dissertation and working on it has been of any value to you as a developing practitioner?
Definitely. I mean, I think you're always searching for what makes you distinctive, and to have a design-based course, you need to be able to encapsulate who you are as a designer, and it's definitely helped me do that.
How's it helped you do that?
I think I've spent a lot of time thinking about how other people have designed and how relevant that is to me and what would make me different. And the VMC route definitely pushed me in a certain direction. So.
Thank you very much.
Now, I'm including that one. I haven't just chosen that one because there was just the one student who said that. That's representative of a good body of opinion. With my colleague, Dr. Helena Chance, we set about thinking about what to do, if anything, about varying this offer of a dissertation. And I'm going to take you very swiftly through the work that we did. We became familiar with the published sources so that we knew what the key issues were. We monitored what other institutions in the United Kingdom, and I appreciate we probably should have looked a bit more widely, but what they were doing, and we reviewed what they were doing. We took an interest in it. We invited speakers to come from those places. I'm not going to name those speakers because although it was actually valuable from our point of view to know that there wasn't out there, as far as we could tell, a golden thing that was going to solve this problem for us. But it was encouraging to see other institutions struggling with this issue. Of the alternatives that we became aware of, we didn't feel that any of them fully met the requirement that we set out with, which is that if we have this thing called, we'll call it for a moment, standard format dissertation, and there were students who got a lot out of it, there were students for whom it was a life-changing experience, we couldn't just sacrifice that with something that was in any way inferior, given what the difficulties might be. So we did that. There's an outfit in the United Kingdom called Writing Pad, which is very, very good at getting people to think about the relationship between writing and art and design. And we went to some workshops, and we played. We had a really good time with paper and scissors and thread. And do you know, it was salutary to be reminded that the business of writing about this could be such fun. And I think we brought some of that into the work that we eventually did. We needed to involve the students in the development of these ideas, and we did it through the good offices of the Student Union. So the Student Union ran student focus groups where students were asked candidly what their feelings were about the existing offer, and this included students who'd done the dissertation, students who were coming up to the dissertation, brackets, and fearful, close brackets, and first years. We had them all there. And we also ran past them some ideas that we were thinking about to see what their reaction to them was. We also had an open-ended section where we invited students to make any suggestions that they might have. And then anonymously, the Student Union fed that data back to us. We had staff workshops along similar lines, except we met them face-to-face and had similar sorts of discussions. As a result of that reflection and that research, we came up with a solution I've called it the solution. That's a bit pompous. It's a solution. It's the one we came up with in our particular context. And I'll just take you briefly through that. We launched this thing under the strapline, all dissertations are equal. Now plainly that's a nonsense, but I'll explain why we did that shortly. So the new model dissertation. Under it, we absolutely continue to offer students the standard format dissertation. It took us a while to find a name for it that didn't sound negative or derogatory. If you call it a traditional dissertation, it sounds like Morris dancers, it sounds like, I don't know, like we're all going to wear Durnbull skirts or something. There's something wrong with that. If you call it conventional, it sounds like Dullsville. So we decided to go with the word standard, in the sense that it is a standard against which alternatives are measured. And we undertake to students that we fully support them in doing that, if that's what they choose to do. We invite students to pitch for, we actually get the students to make a pitch to us about the dissertation that they want to write. I confess we keep for ourselves the decision about whether we approve of a pitch or don't approve of it, because we don't want to allow students to hitch themselves up to ideas that aren't, in our view, never going to work. So there's some asymmetry there in the relationship. A student can pitch for a standard format dissertation or for an alternative format dissertation. What should an alternative format be? This was the thing that was haunting us. This is the solution we've come up with. Any alternative format must resemble one that can already be found in the world. So we've shut off the avenue for students of actually creating something completely original in terms of format. It needs to be something that is out there. As I said, we approve or do not approve proposals according to their viability, and we put in place some mechanisms to ensure the direct equivalent between the formats. This is very important. Some of the student feedback that we got from the focus group was, we don't want something that's not as serious, I suppose. So, well, there we go. A set of common principles. I'll be coming to those in a moment. A set of common expectations on both sides. In other words, what our expectations of the student are, and what we let them know their expectations of us might be in return. And finally, a set of common assessment criteria. Now, the common principles. Students, when they're briefed, are told, or alerted to the fact, your dissertation, regardless of format, must, and much of this is very conservative, small c, deliberately so. It must relate to art and design or both, no change. It must answer a research question, so submissions that did not ask and answer a research question would not be permitted. Resemble a format found in the professional or academic world. And notice here, it doesn't say the alternative formats must do that, it says all dissertations must do that. Because we were trying to move our students away from the idea that I'm in a university and so I'm going to write a dissertation and then they'll let me go and give me a certificate. They're leaving the university, and we wanted them to identify an audience for the work that they were doing and adjust and choose their format accordingly. And that could apply as much to a standard format dissertation as it might to an alternative format one. So with a standard format one, if that student is planning to go and study, say, product design at the Royal College of Art, maybe they should be putting together not only a rigorous dissertation, but a rigorous dissertation that has the appearance, and indeed is, in the best sense, an academic piece of work. If they're planning to go into industry, they might want to do something even in terms of perhaps the superficial aspects of it, which resemble something that might exist in that industry, so that when they go with their portfolio of work, they have something that looks as if it belongs into the world that they're entering into. Be supported by credible, identifiable research sources. I'll explain the pink words in a moment. Use analysis of that research to argue a point of view. Be designed to communicate effectively to an identified audience. Andrew Barr this morning was talking about the inability of some of his students actually to communicate the things, to deliver the things that they had found. So we place particular stress on that. Common expectations, very, very important as we depart slightly from a traditional way of doing things. All dissertations are equal because, regardless of format, we say to the students, you will make sure your dissertation embodies the common principles, the things that I've just run through with you. Spend the same amount of time on creating it. The temptation, if going for an alternative format might be a video, it might be a website, it might be a blog, it might be a magazine, and the temptation might be, oh, I'm going to make this fantastic sort of, glittery thing, is to believe that suddenly, miraculously, there's more time to do it in. These students still have that 75% of their course that they need to attend to and give attention to. So they need to be alerted to the fact there is not more time in which to do it. And all dissertations are equal because regardless of format, we will give you the same amount of tutorial time, not extra, not varied. Oh, sorry, there we go. Assess according to the same assessment criteria, testing for the same learning outcomes, modelled on the common principles. So all dissertations are assessed according to an identical set of assessment criteria. I'll explain those in a moment. The thing that some students tend to think or imagine at the beginning is, well, but hang on, this alternative format. Maybe I'm no good at making a video. What kind of technical support are you going to offer me? And the model that we invite the students to think of in this is the one that would apply if they'd left the university and somebody had said, I'd like a video. They need to know whether they can make a video. So we say, you'll have to support yourself. And that you need to manage the informal input of others. Sorry, should I stop? 1 minute. Oh, right, okay, zoom. Okay, skip all this. There's the assessment criteria. I just want to play you some of the, oh gosh, yes, I do apologise. Right, okay, those are things that you see, I thought we were going to do 20 minutes and 10 minutes, so I had a 20-minute one. There we go. These are things we do with first-year students to get them into the idea of an alternative format. These are things that we do second year, and this is a bit about the pitch. And in the pitch, we ask students to record a video saying what it is they're going to do. Students can write things down, and they actually say it out loud. If they can hear how foolish it is sometimes, it's quite a useful thing to do. Okay, sorry. Can I play you? I'll play you a good one. Here we go. So, I'll just play this one video at the end. Off, off, off. Here we have the work of a graphic design student.
Director is the soul of the movie. He makes the script visual. How does a person become a director? Normally the person who wants to become a director goes to film school or worked as an actor or screenwriter before. But what I want to find out is, to what extent is it possible to become a director without a formal film education? My name is Jan and I'm from Hamburg. I always wondered how it would be if I made a different decision when I graduated school? What if I had chosen to become a director? Currently I'm studying graphic arts at Bucks, and I'm going to be a graphic designer. While I was studying, I did the directing of many videos, mostly music videos. I liked it, and I would love to work as a professional director at one point in my life. I want to figure out if it's possible for me to become a director without a formal education, and what are the advantages and disadvantages of going into filmmaking without formal training. First, I'm going to find out how directors did it in the past, and I want to see how directors my age do it today.
Okay, I'll just zip through to the conclusion and say that as far as we can tell, we've only run this for 1 year. It works. It works on the basis of the work submitted. And it doesn't only attract high-flying, imaginative students. We had some pretty poor submissions as well, but which nonetheless we are reassured are probably the best that student might do. It's neither easier nor harder, it needn't be. It covers the full range of student achievement. And actually some of the students, especially with some of the videos that they produced, were very conservative. So if you had a quote, you suddenly had a slab of text on the screen of them reading it, which was curious. So yeah, and the students liked it. There's stuff saying they did. And so we're changing things, the students are happier, and we hope that they are going to get out of Bucks and out of my Wickham and out into the world and become massively effective. Thank you very much.